Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Conversations of Excellence. My name is Stella BIDA, and I am delighted for the next minutes that we will be spending together. We are not alone. We are with Crystle C. Roberson. She's a professional film and television director and writer. She's been in the industry for more than 15 years. She has won numerous awards for her work and her impact. She has written and directed multiple award-winning films, and she's also directed television series, including the hit series Greenleaf that I love on the Oprah Winfrey Network, as well as Diary of a Future President on Disney Plus, and so much more. But what I love about her is that when I met her, she had this warmth despite everything she's done and the power and the leader she is. She has so much worth, and I'm so grateful for the minutes she's spending with us today. I have to stop talking, Crystle, and let you in. Welcome to the Conversations of Excellence, Crystle.
Thank you, Stella. Thank you so much for having me. It's truly a pleasure.
I'm so happy. Crystle, as we are starting this conversation, is there anything that you would like us to know about you before we go further?
Yes, I mean, I'm very happy to be here. I was born in Germany on a U.S. Air Force base, and then my parents moved back to the United States to Georgia. That's where I was raised. So I'm a Southern girl, I like to call myself. And I think that that warmth that you felt is probably, I owe it to, the people who raised me in Georgia and, my Southern upbringing, and being able to just be down to earth and grounded. So really happy that we met and really happy to be here.
Thank you, Crystle. I love the way you talked about, going back from Germany to Georgia. Mm-hmm. And the very few things that I know about you, it seems that there's a lot of going back to the sources, going back to your grandmothers, I think I saw lately, right?
Yes.
Why is it so important? It seems to be important for you to go back to the source. How does it impact you, actually? Why is it so important?
It's very it's therapeutic because as I grow older, as I grow and mature, I realize that to know where you're going, you have to know where you've been. And to know what you want, you have to know kind of who you are. And sometimes, your desires are they're what drives you, right? When you get up in the morning, you have to do what you have to do for whatever it is that you want, whether you want, your rent paid, whether you want your car note paid, whether you want to have a great time, whether you want to relax, whether you want a loving relationship, whatever the case is, your desires are what drive you. And I find that sometimes you can ask people, including myself, a while back, what is it that you want? What is it that you want in life? And I think that when people sit with that, and have to get really specific about it, they may say, well, I want to be happy, or I want to be wealthy, or, these really big, broad statements of what it is that they want. But what is it that you truly want specifically? And when I ask myself that question, I feel as though I have to go back to the source of who I am to sort of know who it is that I am, to know why certain things are important to me, and what's really driving my desires. Say for instance, I'm a person who I care about the environment a lot, and my lifestyle choices don't always reflect someone who cares so much about the environment. So I had to go back to see, where did I get that from? Who in my family, probably instilled that in me at a young age. And it was my great-great-grandmother. And going back to that source, I realized like, this is why this is so important. This is why I need to make sure that I'm instilling that lifestyle, that this is why I need to make sure that I'm caring for the earth, caring for the environment, because deep down, I know that that's something that she did, and she did it for a reason. Her life was way harder than mine. So if she went out of her way to do it, what was it about it that was so important that she knew, that nobody else did? And that's just an example, but I feel as though knowing who you are, you can better tell what it is that you want. And knowing what you want drives your life, So it's like, in order to really steer your life in the right direction, you have to know what you want. And to know what you want, you have to know who you are. And if you don't know where you come from, how can you know who you are? And it's been a battle, it's something that a lot of people have to fight for, just knowing who they are. So if it's something so readily available to me, I could easily drive to my great-great-grandmother's house where she used to live. A lot of people can't do that, and so I know that that's a luxury. I know it's a blessing to be able to do that. So I was like, I'm going to go back to my great-great-grandmother's house, sit on her porch, and just feel, what it is that she had to go through, and kind of bring it to the present with me. I hope that answers your question.
It's perfect. I love where we landed now for the moment, because it makes me think about stories.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And there's a good friend of mine who made me realize the importance of conscious memories.
Mm-hmm.
Being conscious of the memories that we are creating. And just before our conversation, I linked this with the stories and the way you're so passionate about stories and storytelling and everything you're doing. And my next question is, when we are going through life and building our own story, have you ever had a challenge in creating the story that you want for yourself, despite how the society or people already define you? It's like I don't know for you, but for me, it's been sometimes like there's already the book, it's written, and oh my God, how can I just, tear one page of the chapters and rewrite mine, consciously? What do you think about that? Yeah.
I think that story is, a lot of times is conflict. It is that moment. It's that gap between what you expect to happen and what actually happens. It is that, like, wait, I have to get over this. I have to get through this. It is that. So how is this going to happen? And it's that moment between how is this going to happen and, oh, this is what happened. So, yes, first of all, yes, I have had challenges, many challenges, many challenges. But studying storytelling, I came across this old philosophy called the hero's journey. And the hero's journey is about the hero, which is me, which is you, which is everyone in their own life. And you go through this cycle of events. You go into this conflict. You have to learn something you've never learned before. You have to become something you've never been before. You have to leave behind all the things that you can't take with you, that aren't helping you along the way. There are all these things that you have to do in order to get through to that victory, that's also a part of the story. It's also a part of the hero's journey. And when I found out about the hero's journey, and I found out that it dates back to like the beginning of time. I mean, stories have literally been around since anything existed, right? Because as soon as anything existed, there's a story about it. Someone, you know what I mean? Like it's its own story at that point. So for something to be so old and ancient, and the hero's journey has been resonating with humans since the beginning of time, since humans could tell stories. There's something about it that mimics, or that is human life. And so I say all that to say, when I saw that, when I as a storyteller, learning about the hero's journey, understanding that the challenges and the conflicts are all a part of the hero's journey, and understanding that it all leads to victory. You see, it helps a bit, because yes, I was very challenged. Yes, I had some really hard times, really dark, sometimes not knowing where my next meal would come from. I've had moments of homelessness. I've had moments, yeah, my friends took me in. I was never on the street. But yeah, I've had times when I was like, okay, I guess this week I'll make one pot of spaghetti and eat that for the rest of the week. But looking back on it now and realizing like that was a part of my hero's journey. And when you understand that it's just a part of the story and it's not the end of the story, it's very empowering, because you go, okay, this is just a part of this. I can get through this. I know I'm going to come out on top at the end, as long as I can just make it through this part, because I'm the hero. We're all the hero. And so that's a part of what I'm very passionate about, telling people that I want to, I'm in the process of teaching storytelling in that way, because what I realize is that lots of great storytellers exist, but we go through so many challenges sometimes that we don't make it to the forefront to tell our story. And it's just as important to nurture the skills of directing and nurture the skills of writing that it is to nurture yourself and your own ability to get through, the hard times, and understand that it's just all a part of making a hero.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. It's the hero's journey changed my life as a storyteller. Like, it changed my life. And I think that a lot of people find that same journey in, in Jesus Christ, in anyone who they probably idolize or look up to. You can look at anyone you look up to and see they've been through a certain amount of challenges and conflicts and really tough times to become that hero that you look up to. And so in your own life, you can't discount that. In your own life, you can't discount your challenges and your conflicts, because the very person that Beyonce, like whoever it is you look up to, you can guarantee they've been through some challenges. They've been through some really tough times. And, the more that person had to fight or risk to get through it, oh my goodness, like the better they become, the stronger they become, the more of a hero they are, and everything. So it's, look, it's a part of life, this life that we've been gifted with, isn't it?
I love the way you talked about it, the smile, your confidence, like knowing that this is just a part of the book, it's not the end of the story. I love it. It's beautiful. The way you explained it, it's so clear. Thank you, Crystle.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for the question. Because that was a very good question. Because it is, my heart goes out to the people who give up, at that conflict of their story. My heart goes out to them, because I'm like, you're the hero. You are the person who's supposed to make it through that, and tell us all how you made it through, and tell us all how you kept going. And So I really so glad you asked that question, because a lot of people really need to know that and hear it.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I had goosebumps when you were speaking. Really, it's beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. When you were speaking about that, you came a few times back on the fact of telling the story.
Mm-hmm.
Huh,
Mm-hmm.
that's not easy, huh? Like going back and reopening the book.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the question I have for you is actually on one of the challenges I had for a long time. I told you a little bit about my story, but about daring to be visible to tell the story.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow. Wow. That's a whole nother, yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I know what you mean.
and daring to transcend the barriers there might be in ourselves. I don't know for you, but in myself, I'm talking about me. But what are what can people hold on to have the courage to tell the story, whatever it may be?
You know, um, I think that you have to know that, obviously we're not on earth all by ourselves. We're here together,
Mm,
and we're here together for a reason. And there are people out there who need your story. They need it. They need your story. They need to hear it. They need to feel it. There's someone out there who was waiting to hear your story, to move forward in life, to have a breakthrough, to finally laugh. If your story is just a funny story, maybe someone needed that smile, they needed that laugh. And I think that storytelling is that selfless part of understanding that I have to tell this to someone else and not just hold it for myself. Um, and you would be surprised at how many people really will watch or listen to something that you're saying, or something that you've done, or your trip to the store, or anything, and gain something from it. And I think that that's our duty, as storytellers, is to pass along information, and pass along emotion, and pass along, hey, you aren't the only person who's gone through this. I have too. There's somebody else out there who understands what it's like to be this type of person, or whatever the case may be. It's for the others. It's for other people. You have to get it outside of yourself,
mm,
and just get it out, and make sure other people can hear it. There's a part, to go back to the hero's journey. There's a part at the end of the hero's journey, because the hero's journey is a cycle, it's a circle.
mm,
And when you go through all that stuff, and then you get the victory, and you capture the sword, and you get whatever you really wanted, you come back, and there's this part that says return with the elixir. And the elixir
mm,
is everything that you've been able to, all the wisdom, all the experience, all the emotion, the story that you've gained as you've gone through this hero's journey. You have to return with the elixir, so that other people can have what it is that you've gone through. We benefit so much off of the challenges and the things that people who we don't even know have gone through every day of our lives. We go to the grocery store, we use different, devices and things that someone else has gone through ups and downs and hills and battles to make and to create. And we're no different as storytellers. We have to go deep down, deal with whatever it is inside of us, bring out that story so that other people can enjoy it, be inspired by it, and live life, So, and that is a tough part of the storytelling, of being a storyteller, because you can have the story, you can feel the story, you can even write the story down, but it's that part about bringing it out to the world a lot of times, right, that we feel, really intimidated by. Especially when it's our own story. We worry about being judged.
Mhm.
We worry about, what are they going to say? And am I doing this right? And what if it's not good and all of this? But you really can't worry about any of that stuff. You have to just get it out, because there's someone else out there looking at you like, well, she told her story, he told his story, so I can tell mine too, and it's just, it's so necessary. It's a very necessary part of the storytelling process. It's mandatory to tell it, to get it out. You have to,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. You said, is it, I saw that you have something called CCR Storyhouse. Is it
Yes.
something that you do through that?
Yes. CCR Storyhouse is where I teach the hero's journey
Okay.
in a way that, like I said, not only is it just teaching storytelling, but it's teaching us that we are the hero. And that's what CCR Storyhouse is all about. It actually started as a mentorship program because I had many younger aspiring filmmakers like ask me, hey, will you be my mentor? And I really want to do that, but there's just not enough time in the day to mentor several different people. So I started CCR Storyhouse to have a place where I could, get on, make recordings, and just say, hey, this is what it is. This is, and that way they can still get the mentorship from me without me having to schedule 10 different people into trying to put 10 different people in my schedule, which is impossible.
Wow.
So that's what CCR Storyhouse is, and it is that for me. It is that return with the elixir. It is that, me going through whatever I've been through in the film industry and coming back and saying, okay, hey, I know a thing or two that I would like to share. And you have to, you just come to a point in your journey where it's time to do that,
Yeah. And
Yeah.
thank you for doing that. Thank you for having the courage to do that and taking the time to do that. It's beautiful. Thank you so much, Crystle. Wow. My next question is related to a good part of your life where you're surrounded with people to get stories out through directing.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to know, when you look back at your whole career, what is the greatest lesson that you have learned through directing about being a leader?
That's a very good question, Stella. Very good questions all around.
Thank you.
Honestly, someone asked me not too long ago, like, what is a director really? What are you directing? What are you actually
Mhm.
directing? And there's a lot of different things that directors direct. We're directing actors, we're directing the screen, we're choosing the shots, and how the movie's going to look and feel, and all of that. But I think, to answer your question, the one thing that I enjoy the most, and the one thing that I think is the most valuable about what I do as a director and as a leader, is I look at it like I'm directing artists. And because the thing is, I'm surrounded by artists. The actors are artists. My director of photography is an artist. My camera operators are all artists. The costume designer, the prop master, all the way down to the production assistant. Everyone's an artist in their own right. If they were not artists, they would not be there spending 12, 14 hours, 15 hours on a movie set. you know, being a part of it. And they all have, as artists, they all have visions. They have art, they have creative instincts. They have ideas. They have things that they want to do. And me as a director, I'm not there to tell everyone what to do and how to be. You know, I know a lot of people may think that's what directors do, but my type of directing, I'm not there to just say, do this, do that. I'm there to find and guide all of these artists to the truth of what this story really is. I'm there to guide them to the right emotion that the scene needs to have. I need to stand in for the audience and be like, okay, how do I want the audience to feel? How is the audience going to feel after they watch this scene? And I know that as the director, I understand what the audience is feeling, what they're looking for, you know, what's going to keep them in the story versus what's going to take them out of it. So I guide and direct all of these artists to that goal. And so my actor may come on set and say, hey, I have an idea. You know, I thought I would be getting a glass of milk while I'm doing this. And so, okay, why the glass of milk? Because it tells the story of A, B, and C. Okay, I like that idea. I like that idea. And okay, so if you're going to do the glass of milk, camera operator, you know, director of photography, I have an idea about the glass of milk. Now let's go close in on it and come out to her pouring it, you know, whatever the case may be. But do you see how it's not about like me saying, okay, you stand there, pour a glass of milk, you stand here, shoot this, da 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 da. Everyone there has to understand what they're doing, why they're doing it. They have to believe it. They have to believe it for themselves. Why am I pouring this glass of milk? What does this have to do with the story? Is it just busy work, or does it really mean anything? You know, and then telling my DP and my camera operator, this is what the glass of milk means. They approach it differently. They don't just shoot it. They approach it differently. They feel it now because they know that it means something. So it's my job to come in and give the story meaning, inject it with feeling, bring it alive. You know, the difference between real life and some boring scene is just real life has meaning. It has presence. You know what I mean? And when it's just a random scene, it's like, what's happening here? It's just two people talking and I don't really feel anything. I don't understand what perspective we're coming from, you know? So for me, when I'm directing and when I'm a leader, I like to empower, you know, all the artists around me to be able to trust their creative instincts. If they have ideas, they can speak up and say it. And I'm not gonna you know, put down everyone's ideas. I'm going to listen. Everyone's idea isn't going to make it in the movie. If, you know, they'll sometimes they'll tell me, hey, I have this idea. And I'll go, you know, no, that's not quite right, because the feeling of this scene, you know, she feels lonely. She feels, you know, maybe she feels, you know, alone and depressed. And you want her in the sunshine with all these colors on. That's not working for me to tell the story that we're telling, you know? So every idea isn't gonna make it, but I still like to empower the people around me to understand that like their creative instincts are important, because if you don't, you will just be working with robots and everything will start to feel robotic and rigid. And is that what you're looking for? Is that what you want? And then they start to act for me and thinking like, okay, is this what Crystle wants? Is that what she's looking for, instead of really believing it and feeling it for themselves. And when they feel it for themselves and they believe it, you get you get performances that are like, wow, okay, yes, that's what I'm talking about. You get camera operators who really get in there and feel, your glass of milk or whatever. You get everyone involved. If you can come to the costume designer and say, hey, I want to tell a story with the colors of the wardrobe because she's really mad in this scene, so let's put her in red, and they say, okay, I have ideas for things that are red. And they when they're able to really exercise their own creative core, you get the best out of people that way. You get the best out of artists that way. And that's the way that I like to work. I think that's what a true leader is. A true leader isn't some dictator who just tells everyone what to do. That's someone who needs control. And I understand that because, you feel like, okay, I have to control this thing or it's gonna, get away from me. But as long as at the end of the day, you know what that story is and you know what that feeling is that you need the audience to feel, you're just guiding everyone towards that goal. You have to be the person say, nope, this is where we're going. Okay, that's a good idea. Yeah, great. That's in the right direction. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm just guiding everyone. I'm guiding everyone to the goal. And if someone's trying to stray off over there, no. Come over here. I understand what you're doing. I appreciate your choice. I appreciate your instinct. I always make sure I tell people that because I never want anybody, artists are sensitive, they're sensitive. If they have an idea and it gets shut down, you don't know what could be going on inside of that person after that. So you want to make sure you treat them, they're not delicate babies, but you have to understand that artist pride is a sensitive thing and you have to address it as such. That's a great idea. I love that choice. I love that instinct. However, it's not quite telling this story that we're trying to tell about this. Let's see how we can fold it in, and figure it out. And after every show that I direct, the actors, everyone on set, it's like, oh my goodness, I love working with you. Oh my goodness, you're the best, da, 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 da. And it's really only because I allowed them to express themselves. I allowed them to express themselves. And that's what that's why people have made, the sacrifices and everything to be where they are, because they're artists and they want to express themselves. So when they come to work and they don't feel like they can do that, it's really hard. Work is suddenly work and you're not having fun anymore, So I want to be that leader who is secure enough to allow other people to explore ideas, because at the end of the day, I know where the ship is going. I'm not going to let the ship go anywhere else than it's where it's supposed to go anyway. So you have to be secure enough as a leader to do that. If you're insecure as a director, you need that control because you're like, I have to have this control. This is the only way I know how to do it. But release the control, be secure, be a leader, allow people to have ideas and suggestions. Don't let them run over you. Don't let them take control of the ship. You still have the ship. You're still guiding it. One thing I told my mom, I was like, one of my favorite things to say is like, thank you. I love your suggestion. Here's what we're going to do. That's as simple as, thank you for your suggestions. Yes, that sounds great. Okay, here's what we're going to do. And just, and proceed to lead, but at least you've heard, your artists, the people around you, and what it is that they, that they want to do. Yeah.
Wow. Crystle, Crystle. I love what you shared. And I love
Yeah, that's
I loved it. You have shared so much um, from what I understand, the importance of listening to people, making them express themselves, acknowledging them, being a leader who is secure. So much you've shared into, when you were sharing, I was like, I have an idea like Crystle in corporate, these big corporate companies bringing a zest of directing, that would be so much to learn into what you just said. So much. Oh, I love
it's
it.
something that I had to learn. It's something that I had to learn to experience.
Mm,
Because when I first started out, I got my big break and I'm now directing this $1 million plus
mm,
television episode. And I feel like, okay, if I don't do a good job, you
mm,
know, I'm not going to get another job. And, oh my goodness, I have to do well here. And I have to make sure, and so you get stressed out and you start to feel like I have to control this and, it has to be this way.
mm,
Um, but what I found honestly was like when you just relax and you don't worry about failing, just know that you've already succeeded and understand that like do your homework, be prepared, definitely come to set with an idea of what it is that you want to do. Here's, so that if you're actors, if everybody just comes and say, we ain't got no ideas, what you got, um, like, okay, so I thought she'd be sitting over here playing the piano. He walks in, fixes a glass of water, whatever the case is. And they say, okay, let's play with that. Let's do it. You have to, you have to know what it is that you want to happen. But if they come and say, no, I don't want to sit by the piano. I thought I would sit by the window. You have to be secure enough to say, okay, let me think about that. Let me think about how that tells the story. Let's play that and see how it feels. You
mm,
know, there's nothing wrong with that, and when you allow that actor who wanted to sit by the window, if you make them sit by the piano, you're not going to get a good performance because the whole time they're going to be sitting there thinking about how they should be by the window, how this doesn't feel right, how now they're just saying the lines and they don't believe it. So
mm.
you have to get the people around you to believe what it is that they're doing. And that's when you get authentic performances and really good, you know, work out of everyone. Hmm.
Mhm. You beautiful. Oh, Crystle, I'm so happy. But I'm also mindful of the time. You've shared so much, and we're heading towards the end of our conversation already. Oh, so beautiful what you shared. One of the questions that I love to ask is related to childhood.
Hmm.
And if you had Crystle of 10 years old by your side, sitting next to you now, what would you tell her?
I would tell, that's a great question. These have all been great questions, Stella.
Think,
I would tell 10-year-old Crystle not to worry because for some reason I was worried and concerned about the future and what I was going to be when I grew up. And I would tell her not to worry. I would tell her to trust her instincts. I would tell her to follow her passion, to not try to be what everyone else wants her to be or expects her to be, but to just hold on tight to what it is that she truly loves. That's what I would tell 10-year-old Crystle. Absolutely. I think that as a as a youth, like you do have a certain moment in life or phase in life where what your parents think really matters a lot. what, the older people in your family, your teachers, whoever it is that you look up to, their expectations of you matter so much, and you don't want to let them down, and you want to make them proud. But there's a balance between that and making sure that you're doing what it is that you know that you love, and what's going to make you happy, what's going to fulfill you and drive your life, you know. So yeah, if I would have known at 10, I probably would have saved myself a lot of angst and worry and concern about things that, turned out to be just fine, you know. So yeah, that was a great question. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
When I hear you, it seems that throughout your journey, it has been important to find that balance between what you love as Crystle and the expectations of the
Yes.
people maybe that you respect, that you love also.
Yes. 100%. Because, your parents, they care about you. And when you tell them you're going to go be a filmmaker, it's like, what, how are you, how are you going to pay your bills? And, how long is that going to take for, coming up as a young filmmaker, we don't have health insurance, we don't get benefits. There's a lot of things like that your parents just want you to have the best life possible. They don't want you to struggle. They don't want, all of that. But sometimes that's just what's got to happen. You got to struggle a little bit. You got to, go through what you got to go through, or you'll be miserable. So it's best to just go ahead and take hold of it, because whether you're in a 9-to-5 corporate job, or whether you're doing, your far-fetched, quote unquote, far-fetched dream that you have, it all has a risk involved. You could get fired from that 9-to-5 job, just like you could fail at one day at your dream. Either way, you're going to have to get back up and dust yourself off and try again. So why not go for what it is that you want, And I think I spent a lot of time as a young person in limbo about, well, wait, this is what I really love, but that's what my mom wants, or this is what I really love, or what would my dad think? And you spend so much time doing that, you might as well just grab hold of what it is that you love and go for it.
Wow. Oh, what you shared is so beautiful. And thank you. Thank you for bringing your own story and your own experience into this conversation. It really made it relatable, and just like it gives hope. So thanks a lot. And as we're ending our conversation, I want to give you the floor to anything that you think we've not talked about, to make people understand that, by being grounded, they can reach and create that story where they are their hero. So is there anything that you want to bring forward, which is important for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that as a lasting thought, like, don't underestimate. I want to leave people with this. Just don't underestimate yourself. Don't underestimate any of the things that you've been through. Don't underestimate your experiences. Sometimes you can sit down and think about that thing that happened in kindergarten, or that time, you went, to a different country and you had this experience, or that one person who broke your heart, or that fun time you had, whenever. All of your stories and all of your experiences really matter. And to you, they may not be as big of a deal because you lived it and you went through it, and it's not that big of a deal. But if you just go back to like your own personal sort of bank, if you will, your story bank, and see like, oh yeah, that did happen, you'll find like for you to reach back and bring that and tell that story, you'll be surprised at who really needed to hear it and who it really helps. And so I would just encourage people to think back on their own personal experiences in life, anything that may have touched them personally or the people around them, anything that was really, really tough to get through, the best times, the worst times, the most interesting times. Go back through your life and just write down like those little instances, and you'd be surprised, like, oh, that's a story I could tell. That's a story I want to tell. This is a story, that would help people, or this is a story that I really want to just get off my chest, whatever the case is. But don't underestimate the importance of your experiences and the stories that you have just by being alive, the things that you've lived through and the stuff. And, never think that your little story isn't important enough to tell, because it absolutely is. And there's always a person out there who's going to listen to your story or watch it and be better off because you told it. So I just want to leave people with that. I want to make sure that every person knows that they're important and that their story is important. We're all the hero. Remember, we're all the hero in the hero's journey. You are your own hero in your hero's journey. And there's nothing the only person who can take that away from you is you. It really is.
Oh, wow. Crystle, beautiful. Oh, I'm so happy. Thank you for being part of the conversations. Thank you for what you just said, what you just shared. I'll need some time myself to and sink in the beautiful things that you shared. Thank you, Crystle, for being part.
Thank you for your amazing questions, and thank you for this whole thing that you've brought forth to help to continue helping people get their stories out. It's very, very important. And so yeah, kudos to you as well, Stella.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, bye, and thanks for being here.
All right.